Well, hello, everybody. Thank you. Welcome, beautiful people. Today, I'm super excited. It is finally that day. I know I've been hyping this up, and it is finally worth it. But we are going to jump right into it. The moment of hearing the devil's voice for the first time. This is actually going to be a interview session, so it is going to be awesome. And if you're just happening to join today, I would say start from the beginning, but if you just want to start and jump in right here, that's fine. We're reading from the book Outwitting the Devil by Napoleon Hill, and it is just a phenomenal book. I am so eager for everybody to finally get a chance if you haven't already. And if you're listening to this book again, it's amazing, just to kind of go through it. I hope you guys listen to this multiple times, and the book is going to be available to read on screen. And like I said, this is going to be where literally Napoleon Hill has somehow been able to, with the tools that we're learning, be able to tap in and be able to have the devil speak to him in a way where he can no longer hold back. He has to tell the truth. If you think of that movie, Liar, Liar with Jim Carrey, this is basically the devil being liar, liar, and he just has to tell the truth no matter what. So without further ado, let's go ahead and get started. And I am so excited for you guys to hear this. Give me 1 second. Let's get this going. All right.
Here begins the interview with the devil. I have uncovered the secret code by which I can pick up your thoughts. I have come to ask you some very plain questions. I demand that you give me direct and truthful answers. Are you ready for the interview, Mr. Devil?
Yes, I am. But you must address me with more respect. During this interview, you will address me as Your Majesty.
By what right do you demand such royal respect?
You should know I control 98% of the people of your world. Do you not think that entitles me to rate as royalty?
I had an extremely adverse reaction to hearing the devil referred to as Your Majesty when I first read this interview. Then I realized that Hill probably intended to create just that reaction.
Have you proof of your claim?
Yes, plenty of it.
Of what does your proof consist?
Of many things. If you want answers, you will address me as Your Majesty. Some things you will understand, some you will not. In order that you may get my viewpoint, I shall describe myself and correct the false notions people have of me and my place of abode.
That is a fine idea, Your Majesty. Start by telling me where you live, then describe your physical appearance.
My physical appearance? Why, my dear Mr. Earthbound, I have no physical body. I would be handicapped by such an encumbrance as those in which you earthbound creatures live. I consist of negative energy, and I live in the minds of people who fear me. I also occupy 1/2 of every atom of physical matter and every unit of mental and physical energy. Perhaps you will better understand my nature if I tell you I am the negative portion of the atom.
There you go.
Oh, I see what you are preparing to claim. You are laying the foundation to say that if it were not for you, there would be no world, no stars, no electrons, no atoms, no human beings, nothing. Is that correct?
True. Absolutely true.
Well, if you only occupy 1/2 of energy and matter, who occupies the other half?
The other half is occupied by my opposition.
Opposition? What do you mean?
The opposition is what you earthbound call God.
So you have the universe divided up with God. Is that your claim?
Not my claim, but the actual fact. Before this interview is finished, you will understand why my claim is true. You will also understand why it has to be true, or there could be no world such as yours, no earthbound creatures such as you. I am no beast with a forked tongue and a spiked tail.
But you do control the minds of 98 out of every 100 people. You said so yourself. Who causes all the misery in this 98% devil-controlled world if you do not?
I have not said that I do not cause all the misery of the world. On the other hand, I boast of it. It is my business to represent the negative side of everything, including the thoughts of you earthbound people. How else could I control people? My opposition controls positive thought. I control negative thought.
How do you gain control of the minds of people?
Oh, that is easy. I merely move in and occupy the unused space of the human brain. I sow the seeds of negative thought in the minds of people so I can occupy and control the space.
You must have many tricks and devices by which you gain and hold control of the human mind.
To be sure, I employ tricks and devices to control human thought. My devices are clever ones, too.
Go ahead and describe your clever tricks, Your Majesty.
One of my cleverest devices for mind control is fear. I plant the seed of fear in the minds of people, and as these seeds germinate and grow, through use, I control the space they occupy. The 6 most effective fears are the fear of poverty, criticism, ill health, loss of love, old age, and death.
Which of these 6 fears serves you most often, Your Majesty?
The first and the last, poverty and death. At one time or another during life, I tighten my grip on all people through one or both of these. I plant these fears in the minds of people so deftly that they believe them to be their own creation. I accomplish this end by making people believe I am standing just beyond the entrance gate of the next life, waiting to claim them after death for eternal punishment. Of course, I cannot punish anyone, except in that person's own mind, through some form of fear. But fear of the thing which does not exist is just as useful to me as fear of that which does exist. All forms of fear extend the space I occupy in the human mind.
Your Majesty, will you explain how you gained this control over human beings?
The story is too long to be told in a few words. It began over 1 million years ago when the first man began to think. Up to that time, I had control over all mankind, but enemies of mine discovered the power of positive thought, placed it in the minds of men, and then began a battle on my part to remain in control. So far, I have done quite well by myself, having lost only 2% of the people to the opposition.
I take it from your answer that men who think are your enemies. Is that right?
It is not right, but it is correct.
Tell me something more about the world in which you live.
I live wherever I choose. Time and space do not exist for me. I am a force best described to you as energy. My favorite physical dwelling place, as I have told you, is in the minds of the earthbound. I control a part of the brain space of every human being. The amount of space I occupy in each individual's mind depends upon how little and what sort of thinking that person does. As I have told you, I cannot entirely control any person who thinks.
You speak of your opposition. Just what do you mean by that?
My opponent controls all the positive forces of the world, such as love, faith, hope, and optimism. My opponent also controls the positive factors of all natural law throughout the universe, the forces which keep the earth and the planets and all the stars balanced in their courses. But these forces are meek in comparison with those which operate in the human mind under my control. You see, I do not seek to control stars and planets. I prefer the control of human minds.
Where did you acquire your power? And by what means do you add to it?
I add to my power by appropriating the mind power of the earthbound as they come through the gate at the time of death. 98 out of every 100 who come back to my plane from the earth plane are taken over by me, and their mind power is added to my being. I get all who come over with any form of fear. You see, I am constantly at work, preparing the minds of people before death, so I can appropriate them when they come back to my plane.
Will you tell me how you go about your job of preparing human minds so you can control them?
I have countless ways of gaining control of human minds while they are still on the earth plane. My greatest weapon is poverty. I deliberately discourage people from accumulating material wealth because poverty discourages men from thinking and makes them easy prey for me. My next best friend is ill health. An unhealthy body discourages thinking. Then I have countless thousands of workers on Earth who aid me in gaining control of human minds. I have these agents placed in every calling. They represent every race and creed, every religion.
Who are your greatest enemies on Earth, Your Majesty?
All who inspire people to think and act on their own initiative are my enemies. Such men as Socrates, Confucius, Voltaire, Emerson, Thomas Paine, and Abraham Lincoln. And you are not doing me any good either.
Is it true that you use men who have great wealth?
As I have already told you, poverty is always my friend because it discourages independence of thought and encourages fear in the minds of men. Some wealthy men serve my cause, while others do me great damage, depending on how the wealth is used. The great Rockefeller fortune, for example, is one of my worst enemies.
That is interesting, Your Majesty. Will you tell me why you fear the Rockefeller fortune more than others?
The Rockefeller money is being used to isolate and conquer diseases of the physical body in all parts of the world. Disease has always been one of my most effective weapons. The fear of ill health is second only to the fear of poverty. The Rockefeller money is uncovering new secrets of nature in 100 different directions, all of which are designed to help men take and keep possession of their own minds. It is encouraging new and better methods of feeding, clothing, and housing people. It is wiping out the slums in the large cities, the places where my favorite allies are found. It is financing campaigns for better government and helping to wipe out dishonesty in politics. It is helping to set higher standards in business practice and encouraging businessmen to conduct business by the golden rule. And that is not doing my cause any good.
What about these boys and girls who are said to be on the road to hell? Are you in control of them?
Well, I can answer that question only with yes and no. I have corrupted the minds of the young by teaching them to drink and smoke. But they have me baffled through their tendency to think for themselves.
You say you have corrupted the minds of the young people with liquor and cigarettes. I can understand how liquor might destroy the power of independent thought, but do not see what cigarettes have to do with helping your cause.
You may not know it, but cigarettes break down the power of persistence. They destroy the power of endurance. They destroy the ability to concentrate. They deaden and undermine the imaginative faculty and help in other ways to keep people from using their minds most effectively. Do you know I have millions of people, young and old of both sexes, who smoke 2 packages of cigarettes a day? That means I have millions of people who are gradually destroying their power of resistance. One day I shall add to their habit of cigarette smoking other thought-destroying habits, until I shall have gained control of their minds. Habits come in pairs, triplets, and quadruplets. Any habit which weakens one's willpower invites a flock of its relatives to move in and take possession of the mind. The cigarette habit not only lowers the power of resistance and discourages persistence, but it invites looseness in other human relationships.
I never thought that cigarettes were a tool of destruction, Your Majesty, but your explanation throws a different light on the subject. How many converts to the habit do you now claim?
I am proud of my record. Millions are now victims, and the number is increasing daily. Soon I shall have most of the world indulging in the habit. In thousands of families, I now have followers of the habit, including every member of the family. Very young boys and girls are beginning to take up the habit. They are learning how to smoke by observing their parents and older brothers and sisters.
Which do you consider to be your greater tool for gaining control of human minds, cigarettes or liquor?
Without hesitation, I would say cigarettes. Once I get a young person to join my 2-package-a-day club, I have no trouble in inducing that person to take on the habit of liquor, overindulgence of sex, and all other related habits which destroy independence of thought and action.
Remember, this was written in 1938, long before the addictive nature of tobacco was discovered. Here, as elsewhere, Napoleon Hill is far ahead of his time in some of his medical and sociological opinions.
Your Majesty,
Okay, let me just stop it right there really quick because I know we're getting close to the time. I did want to read a couple of these inserts because I'm not sure if she does read them, but man, is this amazing. This is so good. And again, like what Sharon Leckler is talking about here, I mean, this was written in 1938, you guys. So, I mean, it's pretty fascinating, but there was a couple of inserts. She might go back and read these later, but I think it's just so important, to go into reading all of these things here. So, I know she talked about, the majesty that, being called Your Majesty and how jarring that was, right? And so she was saying, and of course, the text does not reflect whether Hill might have used an ironic or sarcastic tone when so addressing the devil. So again, we're listening to the audio. We don't necessarily know if this is necessarily the tone, but I think this guy does just an amazing job of portraying the devil. But again, we don't know if Napoleon Hill is being sarcastic when he's actually interviewing. So they just wanted to make a note of that there. And then here, it says the devil, one of my cleverest devices for mind control is fear. And I've talked about this in other videos, right? Fear is false evidence appearing real. and it's letting you know this is literally the thing that if you allow it, it will control you. This is the main thing that when people who are schizophrenic, that's what ends up happening, is that the fear takes over, right? So this is all just the devil's work. So, and it's the fear of poverty, just the idea. I mean, I used to deal with this all the time, the idea of just like never making it and being successful or having poverty my whole life, right? The idea of criticism, ill health. Some of you guys are maybe going through some health issues. These are things that we have to take our mind, our back with our mind in control. The loss of a loved one. I plan on doing a video on this. I have some very strong opinions in regards to that. I personally lost my mom. Now it's been 9 years. But how I perceive that situation really helped the healing process. But I understand if someone is going through the loss of love, let's talk about it, and you're not alone in that. Another big one, I have a lot of friends telling me about their old age, like they're getting older. No, you're getting younger. Age is just a perception. Even the idea of death, these are all things that are just keeping you controlled. And understand that these things are all coming from the devil. And we have to control our mind. We want to control our mind, raise our level of awareness, and really start to make these changes that we want to make in our lives. So, let's go ahead and come back to me. Thank you guys again so much. This is actually going to be part 2 of chapter 3, and then we'll get into part C. And I need to double check where we're at as far as how much more we have left to go on this particular chapter. But we'll just continue to go through. I just want to try to keep these videos as short as possible. But I thank you guys so much for joining along, and I will be putting this into a playlist. So if you're watching this later on in the future, you will be seeing these back to back consecutively. But for now, I'm just going to be posting them daily, Monday through Friday. Maybe I'll do some weekends too. It's just trying to get these done. But I really want to get it done, and I want to get through this book. I hope you guys are so enjoying this like I am. Everything is just so new and refreshing again. Definitely take notes. It's only going to get better. But just this little part right here, he basically breaking down how the devil is. And I totally believe it. I totally see it and understand it. And I'm sure a lot of you guys can relate to it too. So until next time, you guys make it a great day. Take care.